Right, you're watching me. That's Rajiv Kumar Bajaj on the Inside Story with me, RKB. जी हाँ, आप देख रहे हैं मुझको इनसाइड स्टोरी पर, लेमन न्यूज़ पर। आज हमारे साथ प्रदीप जी भी हैं, कल नहीं थे, आज हैं। और आज हम बात करेंगे किस प्रकार प्रिया पिल्ले को जैसे एयरपोर्ट पे रोका गया, प्लेन से ऑफलोड किया गया। आज दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने एक ऑर्डर दिया और साफ तौर पर यह कहा that dissent is the bedrock of democracy. You cannot muzzle dissent. Free speech, dissent, these are the bedrocks of democracy. Now, the point is, the government really has to answer. They really have to answer the entire country on this. Now, at the moment with us, we have activist Kavita Krishnan with us. Kavita ji, namaskar. Good evening, Kavita ji. This is Rajiv Bajaj here from the Inside Story. Thank you so much for joining us, ma'am.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Kavita ji, so a great day, at least as far as the judgment of the Delhi High Court is concerned. I think your stand, the stand of Priya Pillai, the stand of Greenpeace, and the stand of all of the human rights activists has been completely and totally justified. Kavita ji, what would you like to say today?
Yes, I think that this was a foregone conclusion, however. I mean, we knew very well that this was the only possible conclusion that any court in the land could reach.
Yes.
And I really welcome it on behalf of my organization, the All India Progressive Women's Association.
Gee.
And I want to say here that, you know, this should serve as a lesson not only for the government, but for those sections of, the media, which were really trying to paint a picture. You see, and look at the purpose. I believe that the government also knew that the court was bound to conclude this.
Right.
But the point is they meant for the mud to be stuck on the activists. They wanted the word activist to be juxtaposed with anti-national, and that's what they kept trying to do, and that is what certain sections of the media helped to do. Now, the thing is that this judgment, I have noticed today, I'm so glad that you are doing a story on it, because I've been seeing that very many of the mainstream channels have in fact not been
They've not even touched it. They've not even touched it.
They've hardly reported the story.
Yes.
And therefore, I'm saying that when you participate in flinging mud on the activists, and then you do not participate in washing it off once you are proved wrong.
No, but that clearly shows. But Kavita ji, let me stop you there.
Yes.
Let me stop you there. Now, this is something that we have been noticing now for a long time. Now, which is the reason why we are running the kind of channel that we are, that I am now no longer in the mainstream channels, that I'm running my own channel. Now, my point is this.
Yes.
Very clearly, there are corporate interests involved. Very clearly, the manner in which one particular channel on which you were there, I remember that show, and I have never seen a more disgusting example. Now, these are my words. You may or may not agree with me. I have never seen a more disgusting example of big business trying to hammer down something at somebody else. Now, dissent is the bedrock of democracy. How can you, as a television channel or as a media or as journalists in general, try and say that we will not allow dissent? I mean, this is ridiculous. Kavita ji.
I think that, and the other thing, you're right about the corporate interest there, because I believe even the government, see, the point here is that SR is funding the ruling party as well as the main opposition party in our country. So is Dow. Now, these parties essentially are trying to act as show their loyalty to the corporations by trying to brand those who are raising the issues of the Adivasis or affected communities, for instance, in the Bhopal case and so on and so forth, as anti-national. And this is a very concerted, they are actually acting as the voice of the corporations. The governments are acting as the voice of the corporations.
That's right.
And I think that this judgment has very much vindicated the stand taken by the activists. You're absolutely right. And I think that this will only give us much greater strength and confidence in challenging this kind of attempts to muzzle us in future.
No, but the one thing which arises over here, one thing which I really would like you to comment. Now, there was a gentleman over there in that particular show. We tried to get him on, on air over here, Mr. RSN Singh of RNAW. He is not, we have not received word from him so far whether or not he's coming on the show or not. Where he kept on and on talking about Greenpeace being whatever, money laundering, and so on and so forth. That is number one. The other thing which came out, which I found somewhat ludicrous, is that why are you going and making a presentation in front of a group of British MPs? My point is, why not? SR Energy, the firm involved is registered in London. Where else will you make a presentation? My point is, I wish somebody like that had done something like that to Union Carbide in the US at the time of the Bhopal gas tragedy. Maybe the pressure on them would have been greater. After all,
it's interesting.
Gee.
No, it's interesting what you're saying. See, because for instance, now in the latest, you're very right. I agree with you, and I want to add to that this civil nuclear liability
Yes.
deal that was made when Obama was visiting here.
Right.
Now, our government has not yet told us what was the deal. It's a secret
Yes.
deal.
Yes.
But from what we gather from the U.S. sources who have talked about it, is that Modi government has assured the U.S. that we will not allow Indian victims of a nuclear disaster involving U.S. corporations to be able to file a case in a U.S. court.
That's right.
demanding compensation. Now, this is clearly saying that exactly they are trying to repeat the Dow and Union Carbide
Yes.
episode in Bhopal. They are trying to make that the norm, so that the victims will be unable to take up their case in a place where they would get more compensation.
Yes.
And they are being prevented from doing so by the government of India. So the government of India, instead of standing by the Indian citizens, is standing by the foreign corporation.
Now, over here, the other thing which was brought out was, the other thing which was hammered home by a couple of people, and I'm glad to say not by other journalists, but only by a section of journalists, was that perhaps, you're trying to humiliate India, you're trying to shame India. Now, we are a global village. There are multinationals which do not owe their allegiance to any particular country. Now, if I have to put pressure on somebody, I will put pressure on that entity wherever I can, whenever I can, in whichever way I can.
And
That's it.
the test has to be, are
Yes.
we asking the foreign corporations and the foreign governments and MPs and so on to uphold Indian laws or not?
Yes.
And in this case, Priya Pillai was very much saying uphold the Indian laws enacted to protect the Adivasis, the indigenous people of India, okay, and their right to forest land. Now, I'm saying that when someone goes, like Arvind Subramaniam, goes to the America to say, punish India for trying to protect protect itself from intellectual property rights bludgeoning under the WTO,
Yes.
try to protect the right of Indian citizens and the poor people of the world to get cheap medicines which are produced, generic drugs which are
Yes.
produced in India.
Yes.
When he says punish India for that, you make him an economic advisor. That is
Chief
what the
Economic
government does
Advisor.
here.
Madam
That
Chief
is- that is
Economic
what-
Advisor.
Chief Economic Advisor to
Yes.
the Prime Minister's office, which is what the government, Modi government is doing. So the point is, you have no problem with someone going
Yes.
against your laws and in favor of foreign corporations. Your problem is that they are going to force foreign corporations to uphold Indian laws, and that is your problem with the activists. That's the problem that the government has.
But
with the
Kavita, over here, the point also is that as
Yes.
far as this particular thing is concerned,
Yes.
since you talked about Arvind Subramanian, let me also point out as a sidelight, which I keep repeating, now I've been repeating this now for the last 4 months, the Glyvec, the cancer drug, which used to cost 8,000 rupees, now costs
Exactly.
1,08,000 rupees.
Exactly,
1,08,000 rupees per
exactly.
dose. That's what it costs right now. All thanks
Exactly.
to Mr. Arvind Subramanian. Now, and
Exactly.
he's Chief Economic Advisor. Nobody has a problem with that. Nobody has done a show on that. But
Exactly.
when a girl like Priya Pillai decides
Yes.
to go and ask these British MPs to put pressure on an entity which is registered in London, you have a
Yes.
problem with that. Now,
Yes.
very clearly, SR and all these other big corporations, they are part of one big family. Now, what
Yes.
I'm scared about over here as a journalist, I've been a journalist now for the last 34 years. What I'm
Yes.
scared about right now is effectively the return of what used to be called the jute press in a different form. Kavita.
The return of what? I
The-
couldn't hear you.
The jute press, Jute, jute.
Okay,
Because
okay,
all
all
of
right.
them used
Yes,
to
yes.
produce jutes,
Yes,
jute in
yes.
Calcutta, and
So
all of them were
essentially-
also owners of newspapers.
Yes,
And they were all one
essentially.
big happy family.
It's the press and also I would say the government. See, I call it the company Raj kind of syndrome, all right, where the government essentially becomes a government for the corporations, by the corporations, and maybe you can say the same for a lot of the media also.
Yes.
But I'm talking primarily about the government also, that, if you're going to have a government that is going to be by the corporations, for the corporations, instead of by the people and for the people, then that is really, really unfortunate. And we have seen that the Radia tapes have revealed that, the WikiLeaks have revealed that. Recent revelations have shown how the SR itself is one of the corporations which is, involved in trying to bribe, trying to keep people in high places
Yes.
in the BJP and Congress happy by giving them luxury cruises here and
That's
there.
right. That's
and
right.
that is the real nexus that we need to be talking about.
And there
Those
is
are
no
the real
answer.
anti-national.
And
That
there
is
is
the
and
yeah.
there is no answer forthcoming on that. There is no answer which is forthcoming at all on that.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
the new land acquisition bill is just one more example of the same thing continuing. Now, my point is, Kavita, there are people like you, people like Priya Pillai. There are other people also
Yes.
who are involved in fighting for the rights of the landless, fighting for the rights
Yes.
of farm labor, fighting for
Yes.
the rights of the Adivasis. And very unfortunately, since all of us live in the cities, since most of the television audience comes from the cities, nobody is talking about farmer suicides. Nobody is talking about what has happened to the Adivasis. Nobody is talking about what has happened to landless labor. Now, what do we do about that, Kavita?
What we are in the process of doing right now is to try and, forge a closer unity of the fighting organizations, movemental forces. And there is a platform called the All India People's Forum that is going to be launched on the 14th and 15th in Delhi. We're going to have a Jan Sansad in Delhi on the 16th, basically trying to highlight precisely all these issues. We want to take up widespread campaigns. For instance, the cancer drugs issue that you raised.
Yes.
We are planning to take up a widespread campaign on these issues because it affects everybody.
Right.
It doesn't only affect the Adivasis and the farmers. This affects all Indian citizens. So the fact is that different sections of Indian citizens need to stand in solidarity with each other. And to take on this corporate and communal offensive, we are forming this platform. And I have great hopes that more and more sections of Indian people will actually respond, even in cities.
So what are you hearing now?
issue.
Kavita, what are you hearing now? At the moment with us, Kavita Krishnan, what are you hearing now? Is the government going to appeal against this order to the Supreme Court? Are they going to the Supreme Court? What are they doing?
I think they'd be really, really foolish if they were to go to the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court will only wrap them on the knuckles even harder.
Yes.
We are not a banana republic just yet.
Yes.
And so I think that our courts are not going to ever give a judgment saying that it's all right to prevent an activist from going to traveling wherever she likes to raise her issues in whatever platform she chooses.
Now, in terms of, sorry to keep you waiting, just one final question. What do you think motivated the administration to do something so foolish? Because as you rightly said, everybody knew.
I think they knew. They had no preparation. They did not think that this was going to stick in court. I think that the purpose is more of the IB report as well as of this whole witch hunt is to try and create
Malign all of
a
you.
public, to throw mud, to essentially create a larger, and I've written about this. I've said that this means that basically they are trying to create an image in the wider public, and it doesn't matter what is the final conclusion in the court, because they want the court of public opinion to brand activists as anti-national. But I think that is easier said than done. They're trying very hard,
backfired.
but I don't think they will succeed.
But that has backfired. Anyway, Kavita, congratulations and keep up the good work. We're all with
Thank you.
We have high hopes on you. Thank you so much. Right, that was Kavita Krishnan. Pradeep, you were the one who raised this issue for the first time right here on this show. I still remember because I had more or less ignored it. You were the one who raised it. So you must be a very happy man today that Priya Pillai has had a day in court and the judgment is absolutely wonderful, where it says dissent is the bedrock of democracy. You cannot muzzle dissent or free speech. Pradeep.
Sir, exactly. The founding fathers of our nation have conceived this entire nation out of liberty. And to find the very fact that anybody could be picked out of a plane for no reason, to disturb his right to life, liberty and pursuit of happiness. And that is unacceptable.
Picked out of a plane for opposing SR.
Let's
put it straight up front.
Lurking danger. And the very fact that most of the leaders who are ruling today in power, they call themselves a product of the emergency.
Yes.
They said this an emergency was the time when the nation was totally disturbed, where the liberty of every individual was hindered like never before. And everybody swore by it, but we can never have anything like this again.
लेकिन प्रदीप यहाँ पर दूसरी बात ये सामने आती है जो कविता कृष्णन जी ने बात करी अभी इस वक्त हमारे साथ कविता कृष्णन जी थी कि भाई एक दो ऐसे चैनल थे, स्पेशली एक चैनल जिन्होंने मतलब जिसको कहते हैं जो शर्म जो है ऊपर से नीचे तक उतार दी और दो दिन डेढ़ घंटा इसी सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर डिस्कशन नहीं किया, इसी सब्जेक्ट के ऊपर वो सारे दुनिया के सामने चिल्लाए कि किस प्रकार प्रिया पिल्लई और उन जैसे अलग अलग जो एक्टिविस्ट हैं वो हिंदुस्तान की तौहीन कर रहे हैं। आज वो सब चैनल इस विषय के बारे में बिल्कुल चुप हैं, उन्होंने कुछ नहीं कहा। आपको लगता नहीं है बतौर मीडिया के माफिक भाई जहां पर आपने गलती करी है आपको सबके सामने खड़े होकर ये बोलना चाहिए भाई हम लोगों से गलती हुई है, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का ऑर्डर आया, हो सकता है हो सकता है कि हम लोगों से गलती हुई हो। आपको लगता नहीं कि ऐसा होना चाहिए प्रदीप जी?
So one thing I think we should, हम लोग सबको we should be happy about is the steady independence of judiciary.
Yes.
They have absolutely refused to bow before the politics of the time today. Though the state has got a majority, the ruling class has got a majority, the judiciary being absolutely independent, sturdy independence, in this kind of situation, we love to be where the liberties of every individual is protected, even in the absence of cast iron guarantees in the constitution. Now this protection of everybody's liberty, that requires real strength, and our judiciary has shown this the way that every person, however big or small, however small his rights and right to life, liberty and pursuit of happiness will be protected in spite of cast iron guarantees, whatever the nation wants to do, the power, the government machinery, against the government machinery.
But Pradeep, over here, I tend to agree with what Kavita Krishnan said. She said that they knew, the administration and the government and everybody knew that they were doing something illegal. They knew this would not stick in court. They knew very well that whatever they were doing was not just patently illegal, it was blatantly illegal. And it would be thrown out of court. But they just wanted mud to be slung at some activists who were inconvenient for them, whose vision of development differed from theirs. I mean, there can be many visions of development. There can be so many different ways in which a country can be seen to be developed. After all, if you go to Bhutan, in Bhutan, they don't have GDP. They have what they call the Happiness Development Index. They don't look at anything else. They don't look at the growth index. Now, in a similar manner, there are so many other ways in which people can develop. ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हर जगह पे बहुत बड़े बड़े प्रोजेक्ट हों, ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हर जगह पे बहुत बड़ी बड़ी फैक्ट्रियां लगें, ज़रूरी नहीं है कि हर जगह पे जिस प्रकार अमेरिका में या यूरोप में मिलिट्री इंडस्ट्रियल कॉम्प्लेक्स की वजह से ही एक मतलब प्रगति है, जिसको हम लोग प्रगति कहते हैं, बाकी सब लोग उसको प्रगति नहीं, उसको ये कहते हैं दैट इज द वे, यू नो, दैट इज द रोड टू हेल। हो सकता है कि किसी का विजन जो है वो आपसे डिफर करे, which is exactly what the Delhi High Court has held. And I am so enthused by this judgment today by Justice Shakhtar. It's absolutely wonderful. He said that the vision of development of some people may differ from yours, and you cannot muzzle that or smother that. Pradeep.
Sir, that's one of the reasons where you get the lurking danger, or the danger is already apparent, that this government of the day and the government machinery wants to trample upon any dissent.
Yes.
This is a cause of concern. There's a lurking danger at every turn that anybody who talks against any industry or industrial policies, if they're going to be, you know, exposed to this kind of
you are a traitor
tyranny.
to the country.
Yes, traitor to the country. This kind of tyranny of the government against the government machinery.
Yes.
And the way the government machinery operates. Now this, as you said, where some channels also have turned a deaf ear to...
Not just a deaf ear. They have done...
It's a cool and deliberate act,
what
yes.
they set out to do. It was absolutely deliberate. And at the moment with us, we have our very old friend indeed, very eminent journalist and now activist, John Dayal with us. John, very good evening to you.
Good evening to you, sir.
Rajiv Bajaj here from the Inside Story on Lemon News. Thank you so much for joining us, John.
Hello, Rajiv.
Hello, John. But a great day today as far as the Delhi High Court judgment in the Priya Pillai case is concerned. You especially would be a very, very happy man, I think.
Indeed, I feel also very vindicated.
Yes.
But I am in a way embarrassed also that we have to go to courts to get them to ratify civil rights which were given to us when the Constitution was signed.
Yes.
Quite a long time ago, 65 years ago.
But John, I'm surprised you should say, you know, that you're embarrassed. I mean, there is not a single newspaper in the country that you haven't worked for. You have worked for practically every newspaper baron, and you have worked for and you have interacted with practically every media management all over the country. And you
Yes.
should know exactly how they work. And you were on that program that Pradeep and I were discussing just now on the channel, and Kavita Krishnan was there on the channel just now. She just went off, wherein it was very clear what was happening. Let's be very clear. You were there. How you were not allowed to speak, how you were being hammered, how Kavita was being hammered, how everybody
No.
was dissenting
No,
voice.
hold on.
Yes.
They were trying to hammer.
Yes.
I would dare them
All right,
to hammer
fine.
me.
Okay.
Yeah. I challenge them on the spot. I would refuse to be hammered by anybody.
No, what I'm trying to say is this was the most shameful, it was the most, all right, not shameful, shameless display of big corporate, kinship or big corporate cronyism that we saw on television that day.
That
John.
also plus a naked display of how they define nationalism,
Yes.
patriotism, and love for my country.
Right.
I mean, that is the whole problem.
Gee.
I love my country, therefore I fight for it.
Yes. In whichever way I think best.
Yep.
Absolutely. Now over here, John, the main thing, the main thrust of the argument seemed to have been, which has been thrown out completely by the Delhi High Court, seems to have been that how dare you go and make a presentation in front of a couple of British MPs. Now my point is, SR Energy is a firm registered in London.
And even if it were not,
Yes. Yes.
I spoke in Europe and in the US in 2000.
Yes.
And I spoke out of a love for my country. I want this country to remain free, for its citizens to remain free. And we are not speaking against the country.
Right.
What we are speaking against is the erosion of rights in the country by political groups, by corporate groups, by all these groups.
That's right. And by television channels who seem to have a monopoly over patriotism. Right?
Oh, well, no, not all television channels, but some, yes,
Yes.
seem to define patriotism in their own narrow way.
Yes. So what I'm trying to ask you, John, is now where do we go from here? Where does this take us, now? Because now Priya Pillai is free to leave. She can go to London. She can go to New York. She can go wherever she wants. The immigration authorities have been given a rap on the knuckles by the Delhi High Court. The Home Ministry has been slapped in the face by the Delhi High Court. And the Delhi High Court has said very, very clearly, withdraw this stupid intelligence bureau report. And you and I know exactly how IB reports are written. We have seen it ourselves. Sometimes I think our reports has been passed off as IB reports. Your reports certainly have been. So have mine. But what I would like to know from you is, where do we go from here? Right, at the moment with us, John, just hang on. At the moment with us, we've also got Priya Pillai. Just hang on a minute. Is that Priya Pillai? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. This is Rajiv Bajaj here from the Inside Story on Lemon News. And congratulations. Your stand has been vindicated, and we're all very, very proud of you and very proud of what you've done up till now. So, your thoughts, Priya. Go ahead.
Priya, may I also congratulate you? My name is John Dayal
Yes.
from New Delhi.
Hello.
Yeah, Priya, that was John Dayal also congratulating you. Right, go
Oh,
ahead.
thank you, John. Thank you so much.
Right.
And congratulations to you too, John. I think it's a big victory for all of us together.
Right, Priya. Now go ahead.
All of us, yeah.
Priya, go ahead. What would you like our viewers to hear? What is it that you want to tell our viewers? How do you feel? And so on and so forth. You know exactly what to say. Now go ahead, Priya, please.
Yeah, I think it's a big moment for us here today in this country, not just for me and Greenpeace, but also for
Right.
all civil society members as well as people's movements who've been fighting upright to keep, protecting the right to dissent. In a
Yes.
democracy like India, where there is a majoritarian government ruling, it's important. I think it's the most important right to be protected,
Right.
and I think it's a big moment for us. It vindicates that Greenpeace and a lot of people in this country have,
Yes.
wherein we dare to dream, and we dare to assert that we have a different opinion from that of the government on
Yes.
various issues. It could be anything, especially on development and the way the government sees development in this country.
And that is the most important point. What the Delhi High Court has said is absolutely amazing. What the Honorable Justice Shakdar has said is that your view of development may be different from somebody else's, and dissent is the bedrock of democracy. Now, Priya, you've been attacked. You were pilloried. You were attacked. There were so many people who questioned your patriotism and stuff like that. What would you like to say to all of them now, Priya?
All the people.
Priya, could you not move your head while talking? I can't hear you. Right, go ahead. Priya Pillai, can you hear me?
Yeah, but I can.
But I can't hear her at all. I think John's
no.
the lucky one, so he can hear her. I can't
No,
hear her
no.
in story.
I can hear you. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes, I know, but I couldn't hear Priya Pillai. Right, John, you
No, I
heard her.
can't.
I think that was amazing, isn't it? I mean, what has happened today
Yes.
is unprecedented, but not that
Yeah, but-
we
but-
don't expect anything less from our courts. Go ahead,
But
go
I
ahead, John.
wanted to take it a step further,
Yes,
because this blasted IB report
right.
is also tied up with the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act and the problems from there and the blackmail of NGOs, particularly civil society groups
Yes,
and empowerment groups. So the whole rigmarole must be struck down.
yes.
Not only the IB's potential and the Home Minister's potential to stop people from speaking,
Yes.
but the use of the HCRA
Yes.
to blackmail people into silence.
Yes.
So that has to go to, and that is the next logical steps. And I would say that the courts must intervene and ask that these things not be used to gag the citizens of India.
So finally, we just have to go back to the courts. That's it. I mean, that's all.
That is the second tragedy. That is the different tragedy.
Right.
That is that in a democracy we have to depend on courts
Right.
and not on parliament and not on government. So that is shameful.
No, but what Indira Jaising said, well, really makes a lot of sense. That means what Indira Jaising said after the judgment. What she said was that too, in such a majoritarian, with such a majoritarian government, this kind of a judgment really and truly gives us a lot of hope. That's what she said.
Yes. But I would like hope to come from parliament.
Right, at the moment, I think
That
we
is
got
the
Priya
one-
back with us. John, just a minute, because she's in great demand today. John, could you just hold on for a minute? Priya, I think we got you back. You were saying something. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so there have been a lot of people who branded, all activists in this country as anti-nationals just because they have an opinion that doesn't coincide with the opinion of the government.
Yes.
Today, I'd like to ask all those people what they think. Do they really think the judiciary of this country is also anti-national?
Yes. Yes. Certainly. Certainly. And by the way, have you received any calls from all those channels who attacked you the maximum to come along to their show and justify
no,
yourself?
no, it's just sad, and I hope, I really hope that the people who attacked us also now come out and stand up with the judgment and rightly defend the judgment of of the courts of the
Well,
country.
they have no choice.
I think it is only fair to say
Yes.
that Priya and Kavita and I should be recalled on that channel
Right.
and be given some more time to speak.
Right. You think that's going to happen, John? I don't think so.
No, I
I
don't
hope
think,
it does.
I don't think so, but I hope it does.
Priya Pillai, thank you very much for talking to us. But when are you going back to London? When are you going back to London to make your presentation?
Soon, I'm hoping I'll be there soon.
Right, and could you also tell us, before we let you go, I know you're in great demand today, especially from people like us. What did you tell the British MPs when you spoke to them on video link? What did you tell them and what did they say to you? Could you
See,
tell us
we've
a
been
bit?
talking about the excesses of SR in Mahan, basically all the human rights violations, how there's been a forgery on the ground and how the clearances have come through, based on a forged document, how Forest Rights Act has not been implemented,
Yes.
and all of this. So I intend to, of course, continue the same lines of conversation in my presentation. There's nothing more to add. There was nothing that we will not say now that all this has happened. So we base our presentations and our talk on facts from the ground,
Right.
I've been there for 4.5 years. I know what's happened in Mahan. So
Right.
the whole idea is to share what has happened in Mahan, how corporates come into the play, loot resources, and don't bother to even take proper consent that is enshrined in the laws of the country.
And what about the people of Mahan? Have you been in touch with them? I'm sure they must have also heard that you won.
Yes. I think it's more than my victory or Greenpeace's victory. It's a big victory for the people of Mahan,
Right.
because they have been spearheading this fight. It's their fight
Fantastic.
ultimately.
Fantastic.
So there, when the courts stand by this whole judgment, it's their voices that are amplified. It's their issue that's being discussed and spoken about.
Fantastic. Priya, thank you very much for talking to us. Thank you so much and all the very best to you.
Yeah. Thank you
all
so
the
much.
very, very best to you, Priya Pillai. Thank you so much. Right, John.
Thank you very much.
But hang on a minute. We can't let you go so far. John, you still there?
Yeah.
Right, John. Now, point is this. You said the same kind of time should be given to you. Now, I tell you what, on the one hand, you and I can joke about it, but we've been journalists now for a long time. You've been a journalist much longer than I have. I even wrote for you. My point is this.
Yeah.
My point is this, both in Delhi Midday and, of course, in the Observer.
Yeah,
Now-
elsewhere, yeah.
Right. Now, but what I would like to know from you, John, is we can joke about the fact that maybe you will not be called back over there, but I don't think that kind of thing was prevalent at the time when we were just print journalists, when this television thing wasn't there. Everybody with a dissenting view would be given at least a small space in the paper. It always used to happen. John.
See, as the judges today have said, and as I've known for the 50 years that I've been an activist, and one is always an activist as a journalist, is that dissent is the very essence of democracy.
Right.
Democracy is the plurality of opinion. It It is not the singularity of opinion.
Yes.
That is a dictatorship
That's right.
that we saw during 75 and 77.
Yes.
We don't want to see that again, ever again.
Yes.
And secondly, how will you define patriotism and nationalism?
Yes.
I love my country, therefore I live here.
Yes.
I fight here, I struggle here. I want to keep it clean for my children and my grandchildren.
Yes. But that doesn't mean
And,
that you should be stopped from speaking your mind out when you are in Europe or
I
in the
will
US.
not. I will not be stopped.
Right. I
will
think
not be
John,
stopped.
John, just hang on a minute. I think we've got Advocate Pradeep Nambiar with us. He wants to talk to you. Pradeep, please go ahead.
John, do you think there's a lurking danger of the supremacy of this business class and the state acting as its tool to, trample upon dissent? Do you think so?
No, the state has no right to intrude on my freedom of speech. In fact, the state should be the protector. And therefore, I sort of sometimes get very worried
Yes.
when people say, when the Prime Minister says, we will act according to the Constitution. You bloody well will. You have
Yes.
taken an oath of
Yes.
office on that Constitution to protect it.
Yes.
You're doing me no favor in protecting it. You're duty bound to protect it.
Right.
In fact, you're betraying the Constitution every time you steer away from it, and you act for the otherwise of what is the content and the promise of the Constitution. You are the one who is violating the Constitution, not I.
That's right. Now, John, Pradeep, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Now, do you think this totalitarian attitude of the political class of today, even when they themselves call themselves the product of emergency, they call themselves product of emergency, and the way the state is acting in a totalitarian manner, do you think these two are two different things, all coming from the same place?
I am not a historian, but I am a documenter of time. And those who think today the protector of rights during the emergency, they signed apologies to get out of jail. Let us not forget that.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yeah, and not only not only apologies, John, to get out of jail during the emergency, but also way back, if you go further back, during the Indian national movement, also during the freedom movement. All that is very well documented.
No, during the movement they were nowhere near it.
Yes.
But if anybody has any doubt as to what these chaps were up to, you can read my book on the emergency,
No,
which I wrote with Ajoy Bose.
Yes, I know. But John, over here, the other thing. Oh, you mean the Turkman Gate incident, right?
Among other things.
Yes,
Turkman.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes, I know. But John, over here, I'm sorry I'm taking you away from the main subject of discussion, which was, of course, the Delhi High Court order, which is what we are talking about today. And this, of course, is for our viewers as well. Please do keep sending in your mails. The mail address is right there in front of you, insidestory@lemonnews.com. John, my point is about the Prime Minister, because you mentioned the Prime Minister, which is why I'm taking this up over here. Mr. Mohan Bhagwat, Adarniya respected Mr. Mohan Bhagwat of the RSS, he actually raised questions about the integrity of Mother Teresa. I don't remember the Prime Minister coming along and rising up to her defense, to the defense of a Bharat Ratna. John.
No, what can I expect of the Prime Minister?
He's our Prime Minister. He's the Prime Minister of the country.
He's the Prime Minister of the country. And I told him when people were making of his speech at function, and I'm a Catholic myself,
Yes.
Mr. Prime Minister need not have spoken to a small minority like the Catholics. He could have spoken to a much larger minority community without opening his mouth. All he had to do was to put.
John, I'm losing you, John. You still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, you're right. But why the attack on Mother Teresa? I still can't understand that. Why?
No, because that is what I am trying to tell you. This is a case of good cop, bad cop.
Right.
When Mr. Modi tends to be speaking to the Catholics and assuaging their feelings, Mr. Mohan Bhagwat says something.
Yes.
When Mr. Mohan Bhagwat does not say something, the government attacks the Christians by saying that we will stop FCRA and we will bring out a law against conversions. That is what Mr. Naidu keeps on saying.
Yes.
So this is soft cop, hard
Right.
cop, good cop, bad cop. Why does not Mr. Modi come and say that minorities are precious to this country?
G.
We will protect them. We'll protect their rights. We'll protect their work. We will not allow anyone to attack them, and we will stop these nuts from the extreme right the Sangha Parivar from attacking Christians.
Why
He
does
should
Mr.
name.
Mohan Bhagwat forget? Now, what I would like to know is, this is something that we have discussed even earlier. Why does Mr. Mohan Bhagwat and all the other chaps forget that Christians have been here for over 2,000 years? Now,
It doesn't matter.
I mean, come on.
You were here since only yesterday.
Yes.
Don't we have rights? Why should we have to old people? We are national
Right.
rights. Why do we have to say that?
Gee. Right.
I mean, every time we keep on saying it, we run schools, we run hospitals, as if you are buying our peace, as if you are buying our security. We are here demanding the rights as citizens of India.
Absolutely, John. Thank you very much, John, for joining us, and all the very best to you. Thank you so much, and keep up the good work. And in case you are called by the channel concerned, please do let us know. We'll watch. In case you are called.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, one other point that I wanted to make, John. One other point I wanted to make, and which was, we might laugh about it, but really and truly, I'm embarrassed as a journalist. Today, I'm really and truly embarrassed, rightfully speaking. All those people who are spewing fire and brimstone at that girl called Priya Pillai, who wanted to go abroad, who wanted to go to England and make a presentation in front of, a couple of British MPs over a London-registered company called SR Energy. Rightfully speaking, under normal circumstances, they should have called you, they should have called Kavita Krishnan, they should have called Priya Pillai, they should have said, hey, listen, the Delhi High Court order has come. I think we've lost John. The Delhi High Court order has come, and we are going to hold this program, and during the course of this program, we will maybe present our point of view. But since the Delhi High Court has made a ruling, we would like to apologize. Pradeep, don't you think that should have happened?
It should happen, sir. It should happen, and it should happen to every person in this country should be absolutely proud of our constitution that has laid the supremacy of law, liberty, any kind of thing that doesn't infringe, or they call insidious encroachments of liberty. That has been totally negated. The state, the judiciary has proved that the constitution and the fundamental rights are supreme, and nobody can encroach upon that. Not even the state.
Zaban ki azadi, akhbaron ki azadi, what is called free speech, that is enshrined in the constitution. Democracy ka matlab ye nahi hai the right to agree. Right to agree is not democracy. Right to disagree is democracy. What's the point? Everybody has a right to agree in a dictatorship. Under Colonel Gaddafi, under Saddam Hussein, under General Ziaul Haq, everybody had the right to agree. But it is the right to disagree which makes you a democracy, and that's what we are talking about, which is why we need more Priya Pillais, we need more Kavita Krishnans, and we need more John Dayals. And which is the reason why I admire the Aam Aadmi Party for the level of disagreement. It's a completely Indian party, but then they're taking it to the other extreme. They're trying to implode by just their disagreements. But the only thing, Pradeep, over here is, where do we go from here? I know this is a question that is asked all the time. The fact remains, here we have a firm called SR, Mahan project, against which Greenpeace has been, involved in the entire movement. मतलब आंदोलन में Greenpeace सबसे आगे रहा है. और आज जो दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का जो ऑर्डर आया है, which is not on the merits of the Mahan project, it is only on the merits of whether or not Priya Pillai had been wrongfully stopped at the airport and offloaded from the plane. The Delhi High Court has said very, very clearly what the Home Ministry has done, what the IB has done is absolutely wrong. मतलब जो भारत सरकार ने किया वो बिल्कुल गलत किया प्रिया पिल्लई के साथ. लिहाजा इसका मतलब ये हुआ, अब आपको अगला सवाल जो पैदा होता है वो ये पैदा होता है कि इसके पीछे जो कॉर्पोरेट इन्वॉल्व है, इसके पीछे जो पैसा इन्वॉल्व है, उसकी तफ्तीश कब होगी और उसका पर्दाफाश कब होगा, और कब आप ऐसे लोगों को जेल भिजवाएंगे. आप डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह को तो आप समन करते हैं कोर्ट में, इसके बावजूद कि सीबीआई ने कहा कोई केस नहीं है, प्रोसिक्यूटर साहब कहते हैं कोई केस नहीं है, सीबीआई कोर्ट बोलता है समन कीजिए. मैं जानना चाहता हूं कि इसके पीछे जो प्रिया पिल्लई का जो केस था, उसके पीछे जो कॉर्पोरेट इन्वॉल्व हैं, उनको समन कब किया जाएगा?
Exactly, sir. This is a big cause of concern. The one thing we'll have to admit, the ground realities of the nation today. 1/3 of the people are below poverty line. There has to be a constant, there's absolute need of moving towards development. There's absolute need towards commercialization. But then
development for all.
For all sections of the society, across the sections of the society.
Not just for industrialists.
But can you do away with the due process of law?
You can't.
आप फोर लेन का रोड बना सकते हो, मगर एक गरीब के झोपड़पट्टी वहां से तोड़ना विदाउट द ड्यू प्रोसेस ऑफ लॉ, एंड इफ द पोअर मैन डजंट हैव द राइट, हिज वॉइस कैन नॉट बी हर्ड, then that where are we moving to? We are not, as this particular case, you need industrialization, you need commercialization, you need big industries to come in, but at what cost? Are you not going to listen to the plight of the people out there who are suffering? I have become
Otherwise, why have you been elected?
Why have been elected? The people, I mean the entire thing for the people, by the people.
प्रदीप जी, जो आप बात कह रहे हैं, बिल्कुल जो आप बात फरमा रहे हैं, बिल्कुल ठीक फरमा रहे हैं। आखिरकार आपको चुन करके किसने भेजा है? देशवासियों ने भेजा है। आपने देश की सेवा करने की शपथ ली है, जैसे जॉन दयाल बोल रहे थे, संवैधानिक तौर पे यू आर बाउंड बाय द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन टू सर्व द पीपल ऑफ द कंट्री, एंड if you are taking away the rights of the people of the country, then you have no right to be in power. For example, as far as the land acquisition bill was concerned, the earlier bill had said 70% consent is required from the people of the area where you want to acquire the land. Now you are taking away that right. As soon as you take away that right, you are disenfranchising people. You are taking away their right to approach the courts. I, as an ordinary citizen of this country, have the right to approach the court each time I feel aggrieved. But when a farmer feels aggrieved, he does not have the right to approach the court, except through government permission, except through a collector. Now my point is this: the Priya Pillai case, the manner in which today the Delhi High Court has ruled in favor of dissent, I think this is a landmark judgment. और इस वक्त हमारे साथ हैं मयंक जैन जी। मयंक जैन आम आदमी पार्टी के। मयंक जैन जी नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर, हाउ आर यू?
एब्सोल्युटली फाइन। मयंक भाई, सबसे बड़ी बात यहां पर यह बनती है, सबसे पहले तो सभी लोगों को मुबारकबाद देनी पड़ेगी। इस बात की मुबारकबाद देनी पड़ेगी कि दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट का जो ऑर्डर आया है आज प्रिया पिल्ले के केस में, कि आप किसी के खिलाफ इस किस्म का एक्शन नहीं ले सकते जो आपके विचारों से सहमत नहीं है। असहमति का मतलब यह नहीं है कि आप किसी की भी राइट्स को ले लें, आप किसी को ऑफलोड करा दें प्लेन से। वो बेचारी प्लेन में चढ़ रही थी, शी वाज अबाउट टू गो टू लंदन टू मेक अ प्रेजेंटेशन इन फ्रंट ऑफ ब्रिटिश एमपीज अबाउट a huge corporate project which, according to Greenpeace, has violated all the forest laws, has taken away the rights of Adivasis, has exploited Adivasis, and you have offloaded her from the plane. The Delhi High Court has been very, very strict in its ruling today. Mayank, आप बताएं।
नहीं सर, दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने एक रूलिंग जो दी है, बेसिकली ये आपके जो बोलते हैं ना फ्रीडम है हर चीज की, जिस पे लगाम लगाने की कोशिश की जा रही थी, तो दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट ने बेसिकली उसको ही एक तरह से एम्पावर किया है और लोगों को एक बहुत स्ट्रॉन्ग मैसेज सबको दे दिया कि डोंट ट्राई टू प्ले विद द फ्रीडम ऑफ एनीवन। आज अगर मैं ट्रैवल, आप मुझे एक बात बताइए सर, एक तरफ आलम जी को तो जेल से छोड़ा जा रहा है जिन पे इतने इल्जाम लगे, और दूसरी तरफ जो पिल्ले मैडम है जो जिनको छोड़ा, जिनको पकड़ लिया था इस बिना पे, शक के बिना पे कि वहां जाके शायद कुछ प्रॉब्लम खड़ी करेंगी। तो मुझे बताइए किस तरह का मापदंड है ये? On one hand, you are actually fleeing the separatists, और दूसरे हाथ पे आप एक ऐसी लड़की को पकड़ते हो जिससे आपको लगता है कि आगे जाके वो हमारे नेशन को गलत बोलने के लिए कुछ करेगी। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये तो आप,
अरे जनाब, नेशन के लिए नहीं, एक कॉर्पोरेट के खिलाफ कुछ बोलने वाली है, इसलिए
वही तो कह रहा हूँ। आप समझे नहीं राजीव जी, आप मेरा बड़े पर्सपेक्टिव में मतलब नहीं समझे। आज हमारी ये एनडीए गवर्नमेंट एक नेशन, एक कॉर्पोरेट जो रह गया जी। आज आप वही तो मैं एग्जैक्टली कह रहा हूँ, दो कॉर्पोरेट ऐसे हैं जिनके लिए सारे लॉज बन रहे हैं, जिनके लिए सारी कवायद चल रही है उनको बचाने की। तो आज नेशन तो बहुत सिमट के रह गया ना सर दो कॉर्पोरेट में। जी
दुरुस्त बात है।
तो
और मुझे ऐसा लगता है, सॉरी मैं ये बात आपके सामने रख रहा हूँ, मेरा वो कोई विचार नहीं था कि मैं ये बात कहूंगा, लेकिन आपने क्योंकि बात कही है इसलिए मैं कह रहा हूँ। कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है कि बार बार एक कोई 9 महीने पुराना स्टिंग, कोई और स्टिंग, कोई फलाना, कोई डमकाना, पता नहीं क्या आज की तारीख में आ रहा है, कहीं ये एक प्रयत्न तो नहीं हो रहा कि दिल्ली सरकार को, आम आदमी पार्टी की दिल्ली सरकार को बांध के रख दिया जाए, उसके आसपास ऐसा चक्रव्यूह क्रिएट कर दिया जाए ताकि वो काम ना कर सकें? कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं हो रहा मयंक जी?
बजाज साहब, दो चीजें हैं। अनुरंजन झा ने कोशिश कर ली, आवाम ने कोशिश कर ली, अब गर्ग साहब भी आ गए, तो कोशिश करने दीजिए ना। मैं तो एक बात जानता हूँ, सत्यमेव जयते, अगर हमने कुछ गलत नहीं किया है तो वी आर गोइंग टू पास आउट विद फ्लाइंग कलर्स। पिछली 2 बार भी किया, लोगों ने 67 सीट्स दी थी, जो कि एक नई चीज थी, बहुत बड़ी, बहुत ज्यादा इनक्रेडिबल चीज थी। तो मुझे लगता है लेट देम ट्राई एवरी ट्रिक इन द बुक।
नो बट मैंक, आई एम कमिंग टू समथिंग एल्स। दिस इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट आई आस्क्ड वेंकटेश आब्दू जी। वेंकटेश आब्दू जी जब हमारे शो में थे, बीफ के ऊपर जब बैन आया था, तो मैंने उनको ये पूछा था कि आपको मालूम है आज तारीख क्या है? उस दिन शायद कोई क्या तारीख थी प्रदीप भाई, आपको याद होगा, 5 तारीख थी, कि मतलब ऐसा कोई 5 या 6 मार्च थी। तो भाई आज मैंने उनको बताया कि आज 5 मार्च 2015 है। आज 5 मार्च 1125 नहीं है। इसी प्रकार आपकी जो जितने पुराने आपके जो मित्र हैं, जैसे शाजिया इल्मी हो गई, आपके जो बाकी जितने भी पुराने मित्र हैं, गर्ग साहब हो गए, आपके बाकी जितने भी जो पुराने मित्र हैं, आवाम के जो लोग हो गए, क्या उनको ये अब याद दिलाना जरूरी हो गया है कि भाई आज टुडे इज द 12th of March, आज 12 मार्च 2015 है, 12 मार्च 2014 नहीं है। आज मतलब 10 फरवरी 2015 को दिल्ली चुनाव के परिणाम आ चुके हैं। अब ये परिणाम के पहले, चुनाव के पहले ये सब बातें क्या हुई, किसने किसको क्या कहा, किसने किसको तोड़ने की कोशिश की, मतलब इसका क्या मतलब हुआ, मयंक जी बताएं।
नहीं राजीव जी, ये तो एक बहुत ही नाइव एक तरह से कोशिश है और हम जानते थे। देखिए हमारी राह में कांटे तो पहले भी थे
जी,
आगे भी कांटे होंगे, और ये जो इंटरनल एक तरह से हमारे बीच में जो झगड़े चल रहे हैं, मैं तो उसको एक चर्निंग प्रोसेस कहता हूँ। द बेस्ट विल कम आउट एंड द वर्स्ट विल गेट आउट।
दैट्स राइट।
एक सिंपल सी बात है। मैं तो अरविंद के साथ आज भी खड़ा हूँ। अरविंद ने ही हमको जगाया है, अरविंद ने ही हमको साहस दिया है करप्ट लोगों के खिलाफ लड़ने के लिए, और ये जितने स्विंग करते हैं कर ले। और मुझे एक बात बताइए राजीव जी, आपने वो स्विंग का टेप अच्छे से सुना
जी?
आप मुझे बताइए उसमें क्या गलत था। मैं आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ।
आई एम टेलिंग यू वेरी फ्रैंकली, यू आर रनिंग अ पॉलिटिकल पार्टी। आज की तारीख में आम आदमी पार्टी एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी है। आम आदमी पार्टी इंडिया अगेंस्ट करप्शन नहीं है। आम आदमी पार्टी एक सोशल मूवमेंट नहीं है। आम आदमी पार्टी एक पॉलिटिकल पार्टी है। सरकार बनाने हेतु जब यह लग रहा था कि हो सकता है कि सरकार ना बने, हो सकता है कि गवर्नमेंट डिसॉल्व ना हो सकता है कि हाउस डिसॉल्व ना हो, तो व्हाई इज मिस्टर अरविंद केजरीवाल बीइंग प्रिवेंटेड फ्रॉम मेकिंग एवरी अटेम्प्ट पॉसिबल टू सी टू इट दैट द आम आदमी पार्टी कम्स टू पावर? आई फाइंड नथिंग रॉन्ग इन इट।
एंड द वर्स्ट पार्ट इज सर, उस स्टेट में एक बार भी कहीं नहीं कहा गया कि मैं उनको पैसे दूंगा, मैं आपके एमएलए तोड़ू, मैं आपके एमएलए को चीफ सेक्रेटरी बनाऊंगा, चेयरमैन बनाऊंगा, कहीं का फलाना ढिमका, जैसे कि
जो के बिहार के मुख्यमंत्री मांझी साहब ने ओपनली कहा कि अगर मंत्री पद चाहिए उधर क्यों जाते हो, इधर आ जाओ, और उसको भारतीय जनता पार्टी सपोर्ट कर रही थी। भारतीय जनता पार्टी उसको समर्थन कर रही है। मेरा ये कहना है।
हमने तो इनफैक्ट ये स्ट्रिंग बीजेपी के एक वाइस प्रेसिडेंट का किया था, दिल्ली के शेर सिंह घागर साहब का, जिन्होंने खुलेआम कहा था कि पैसे भी दूंगा, चेयरमैन भी बना दूंगा फलाना फलाना जगह का।
जी,
ये हॉट ट्रेडिंग होती है। मुझे बताइए अरविंद अगर एक पॉलिटिकल रिअलाइनमेंट की बात कर रहे हैं तो उसमें क्या गलत? उन्होंने किसी को पैसे,
लेकिन इसमें मुझे ऐसा लगता है, प्रदीप जी आपसे कुछ पूछना चाह रहे हैं, मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि इसमें आम आदमी पार्टी को पढ़ना ही नहीं चाहिए। दिल्ली में जो आपकी सरकार बनी है, आप दिल्ली की सरकार चलाएं, अच्छा काम करें, दिल्ली के लोगों का भला करें, और आपके मैनिफेस्टो में जो जो आपने वादा किया है उसको आप फुलफिल करें। अगर वो वादे आप फुलफिल करते हैं, लोगों को वही याद रहेगा। ये स्टिंग और रिंग और डिंग और ब्लिंग ब्लिंग, दिस विल नॉट बी रिमेंबर्ड बाय एनीबॉडी।
एक लास्ट बात, आप एक काम करिएगा, आपको पता है आम आदमी पार्टी का मुंबई का फेसबुक एक पेज है, अभी मैंने उसमें 2 मिनट आपसे बात करते करते एक चीज अपलोड की है, उसमें एक पोस्ट अपलोड किया है जिसमें हमारे अभी तक के अचीवमेंट्स लिखे हैं। आप पढ़ के मुझे बताइएगा, क्या कभी डेमोक्रेटिक इंडिया में ऐसा काम इतनी जल्दी हुआ है?
जी,
आप पढ़ के मुझे बताइए। मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूँ कि मैं कह रहा हूँ वो सही है।
जी,
आज द्वारका जैसी जगह में जहाँ पे पानी की भीषण कमी थी, आज वहाँ पे पानी का सरप्लस है।
जी,
ठीक है, तो आप वो पोस्ट पढ़िएगा, एंड बिकॉज यू आर अ वेरी वेरी सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट, आप भी हमको गाइड करिए कि वो पोस्ट कैसा लगा आपको।
Right, just I'll definitely do it. I promise I'll do it. But I think Pradeep wants to ask you a question. Go ahead.
What was happening is acting like a dampener among the entire country was livid. We were talking about BMC in Maharashtra. पूरे महाराष्ट्र geared up थे, BMC
and Punjab,
पूरे Mumbai, Punjab. Everybody was geared. They were livid, full of enthusiasm. And suddenly, what is happening is serving as a dampener. This is actually, unless you get your acts immediately, unless things happen immediately, people are going to see this in a very, very bad taste.
प्रदीप जी, इसका मुझे काउंटर 2 बातों से याद आता है। पहली बात, राजीव जी की बात से मैं बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ। आज हमारी परफॉर्मेंस दिल्ली में क्या होगी उसके बलबूते पे लोग हमको जज करेंगे। आज मैं आपको छोटी सी बात बताता हूँ। मेरे कई रिलेटिव्स हैं जो हार्डकोर बीजेपी सपोर्टर्स हैं, हार्डकोर मोदी भक्त हैं। आज जब वो मुझे फोन पे ये बोलते हैं कि मयंक तुम्हारी लड़ाई क्या हो रही है, हमको उससे कोई मतलब नहीं है, हमारा एमएलए हमारा बहुत काम कर रहा है, हमारे लिए ये सबसे जरूरी बात है। ये पॉइंट आता है ऐसे आदमी से जो चिढ़ता है अरविंद केजरीवाल से, उसने वोट भी नहीं दिया। तो ये मेरे लिए बहुत बड़ी संतुष्टि की बात है कि हमारा काम अच्छा चल रहा है। आज जब हम पंजाब इलेक्शन में जाएंगे ना सर 2 साल बाद, जब तक चीजें सॉर्ट आउट पूरी तरह हो चुकी होंगी, तो लोग ये नहीं पूछेंगे कि भाई योगेंद्र यादव के साथ उस पर क्या हुआ था। लोग ये पूछेंगे कि आपने ये काम कैसे कर दिया
जी।
महाराष्ट्र में अंजलि दमानिया कुछ बोलती है, मयंक गांधी कुछ बोलता है, एवरीथिंग सीम्स टू कंफ्यूज। पूरे आम आदमी पार्टी इज गोइंग इन मल्टी डायरेक्शंस। अलग अलग लीडर अलग अलग तरीके से पार्टी को खींच के ले जा रही है। पीपल आर कंफ्यूज्ड।
अभी सर एक बात आपको छोटी सी बोलूं, मुझे लगता है इस पार्टी में एक चीज है जो कंसिस्टेंट है, इसके वॉलंटियर जो हम लोग हैं। और वो जिंदगी भर कंसिस्टेंट रहेंगे। और बजाज साहब को मैंने उस दिन भी एक बात बोली थी, ये पार्टी इसलिए डिफरेंट है क्योंकि जब हमको गलत लगा तो हमने मास प्रोपेगेंडा करके उसमें एक मुहिम चला दी हमारे वॉलंटियर्स ने। सर हम वो लोग नहीं है जो आपने जो थोप दिया हमने समझ लिया, हम हाईली एजुकेटेड टू नॉट फॉल इनटू ट्रैप। तो प्रदीप जी ये कुछ दिनों की बात है, आप भी सब्र रखिए, अरविंद जी को आने दीजिए। आई हैव गॉट फुल फेथ इन माय लीडर एंड आई नो मुझे लड़ना उन्होंने सिखाया, खड़ा होना उन्होंने सिखाया।
Why was Anjali Damania crying? I mean, why was इतना इमोशनल क्यों बन गई थी अंजलि दमानिया?
अब बोलो सर, आप उनसे पूछिए अंजलि के वो तो आंसू हैं, कब निकल जाए हमको क्या पता सर।
But is Anjali coming back? Because from whatever I have known, Anjali Damania I think is coming back, isn't she? This is the third or fourth time that she has left Aam Aadmi Party, and I think she's going to be back.
सर मेरे को यही बात लगती है, मैं अंजलि तो हमारी बहुत की लीडर है, पर एक चीज है, बार बार रिजाइन देने से क्या मोरल का, वॉलंटियर्स का मोरल टूटता है कहीं ना कहीं।
जी
आप
वही बात प्रदीप जी बोल रहे थे, वही बात प्रदीप जी बोल रहे थे। आप एक मिनट मयंक जी, जो बात प्रदीप जी कह रहे हैं उसको जरा आप गंभीरता से लीजिए। गंभीरता का मतलब ये है कि क्योंकि एक माहौल बना था और अभी भी है, ऐसी बात नहीं है कि अभी नहीं है, वो माहौल तोड़ने की कोशिश की जा रही है। आप लोग एक साजिश हेतु आपको खत्म करने की कोशिश की जा रही है कि आपके आसपास एक चक्रव्यूह हो ताकि दिल्ली के बाहर आप ना निकल पाएं। सिंपल सी बात है। और बार बार जहां पर भी जिस भी टेलीविजन डिबेट के अंदर अगर आप देखें वही लोग बैठे होते हैं और वही चार्जेस आपके खिलाफ आ रहे हैं, वही मतलब उनका नाम लेने की मुझे आवश्यकता भी नहीं है, आप ही के पाले से निकले हुए लोग वही बातें बार बार वही बातें दोहरा रहे हैं। तो मेरा यह कहना है कि आप लोगों को विकास के काम पे, अपने काम पे, दिल्ली के काम पे कंसंट्रेट करना चाहिए, ऐसा मेरा मानना है। मयंक जी
नहीं सर वही कर रहे हैं और कोशिश पूरी यही है कि वहां पे हम कहीं भी ढीले ना पड़े।
जी।
और इनफैक्ट अगर 19 दिन है तो 21 करके लोगों को बताया कि देखिए पैसे खाए बिना और एक अच्छी राजनीति से भी काम किया जा सकता है।
जी।
तो कोशिश पूरी यही है। बाकी तो मैं यही चाहूंगा जहां जहां गलत हो आप जैसे बड़े जर्नलिस्ट हमको टोके।
लेकिन आप ये बताएं जो सवाल प्रदीप जी ने आपसे पूछा उसका पूरा जवाब ने नहीं दिया। आम आदमी पार्टी के जो वॉलंटियर हैं मुंबई के, महाराष्ट्र के, जहां से आप आते हैं, आप ये बताएं कि ये जो सारा मसला चल रहा है, ये गर्ग साहब इधर से और हर जगह पे, हर चैनल पे शाजिया इल्मी दिखती हैं, मतलब बोलते हुए और वही चीज बोलते हुए। मैं आपसे जानना चाह रहा हूं कि उससे आम आदमी पार्टी का जो आम वॉलंटियर है उसके ऊपर क्या प्रभाव पड़ रहा है, ये जरा बताएं।
सर बिल्कुल फ्रैंक बात करेंगे, घुमा फिरा के नहीं करेंगे, मोरल डेफिनेटली टूटा है
जी।
और एक बात याद रखिएगा कि ये वॉलंटियर ड्रिवन पार्टीज में जब आपके ऊपर चीजें ठीक ना हो, स्पेशली जब हम टॉप टू बॉटम काम करते हैं वॉलंटियर अप्रोच में, तो वहां पे मोरल टूटना बहुत लाजमी है और वो हो भी रहा है। पर हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं मुंबई लेवल पे, जैसे हम कमेटी में है, मुंबई कमेटी में है, कि प्रोग्राम से उनको एंगेज किया जाए। आज भी काफी इश्यूज उठाए जा रहे हैं, हम चाहते हैं कि प्रोग्राम में एंगेज रहे। बट आई एग्री टू यू, मैं झूठ नहीं कहूंगा, ऑल इज नॉट वेल, मोरल वॉलंटियर्स का टूटा हुआ है, हम उसको गियर अप करके नई एनर्जी बढ़ना चाहते हैं। और मुझे ऐसा लगता है, मेरी ऐसी पर्सनल सोच है कि अरविंद के आने के बाद मुझे लगता है द एयर इज गोइंग टू क्लियर अ बिट और it is going to be a good happy united family once again.
Now whether it's going to be a happy united family or a happy disunited family, that we don't know, but it is already a family now, and like in all families, जो हिंदुस्तानी फैमिली में तू मैं होती है वो किसी दुनिया की किसी और परिवार में नहीं होती है, वो हमें दिख रहा है। लेकिन मयंक जैन जी आप ये बताएं, आपसे मैं बड़ा गंभीर सा सवाल पूछ रहा हूं कि कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है कि अरविंद जी जो 10 दिन के लिए गए या 15 दिन के लिए गए या जितनी भी देर की छुट्टी के लिए गए अपना इलाज कराने के लिए, और वो जान करके अभी नहीं आ रहे हैं कि सब चीजों को बाहर निकलने दो, एक एक चीज को बाहर निकलने दो, मंथन से जो भी निकलेगा उसके बाद जो होगा वो असली आम आदमी पार्टी होगी, कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है?
सर देखिए मैं इस पे कमेंट नहीं करता क्योंकि मुझे ये तो इतना डीपली तो नहीं पता, पर यह है कि अरविंद जी को भी बहुत जरूरत थी रिजुवेनेट होने की, क्योंकि द टोल ऑफ द एंटायर कैंपेन हैज टेकन वेरी बैडली ऑन हिम। तबियत काफी खराब थी और इनफैक्ट अभी बैंगलोर से रिपोर्ट सारी काफी एनकरेजिंग है। इंसुलिन रिच में कमी, उनका इंसुलिन लेवल काफी वेवरी हो रहा था, पर अब काफी अच्छा है और काफी फिट लग रहे हैं, फोटोज आई हैं, काफी एनर्जेटिक लग रहे हैं, जो बहुत दिनों बाद लग रहे हैं। तो मुझे लगता है अरविंद को थोड़ा फेयर करना जरूरी भी था उनकी हेल्थ के लिए। तो आई विश ही इज इन पिंक ऑफ हेल्थ और अपने वापस फॉर्म में आए। और
why is it, Mayank, one final question to you, why is it that all television channels, barring none, all television channels are taking a lot of pleasure in attacking you? लगे सर आए कि सबको बहुत मजा आ रहा है कि जान जान के आपको कुरेदा जाए, जान के जैसे वो गर्ग हैं, शाजिया इल्मी हैं, उसके अलावा एक दो और लोग हैं, वो लोग आकर के बैठे और वही चार्जेस को बार बार रिपीट करें, मतलब ऐसा क्यों है?
सर वो तो बोलते हैं ना पुराने जख्म खुरदने में बड़ा मजा आता है, तो वही हो रहा है कि, और आप एक बात नोट करिएगा शाजिया को आज भी आप जितने चैनल्स में देखेंगे उनको एक्स आप मेंबर लिखा जाता है, बीजेपी नहीं लिखा जाता।
Oh,
तो यानी
मुझे लगता है उनको आपको वापस आम आदमी पार्टी में लेना चाहिए, उनको एक बार फिर आपको इनवाइट करना चाहिए कि वापस।
नहीं सर, वो अभी वो मोदीमय में एकदम वो हो चुकी है, मोदीमय हो चुकी है। तो अभी उनको लाना मुझे नहीं लगता है ठीक होगा, जो भी होगा। और मुझे लगता है वॉलंटियर्स भी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेंगे फ्रैंकली स्पीकिंग उनको, क्योंकि ये वॉलंटियर्स यहाँ हमारे।
Mike, thank you very much for talking to us. I hope
Thank
you're
you,
able to
sir.
sort out your differences, because all of us have a lot of hopes on you. We all had a lot of hopes on the Aam Aadmi
Same here,
Party.
same.
I hope you live up to those hopes. Thank you so much. Mike.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, that of course was Bank, and we diverted ourselves. We got a bit distracted from the Priya Pillai case. But the fact remains that even as far as the Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, or for that matter, what is happening in the Aam Aadmi Party, maybe they should perhaps. I don't know whether they can do it or not. Maybe because the party grew because of the multifarious elements that there were in the party, and now a large number of those elements are pulling the party in different directions. Pradeep.
Yes, sir. I mean, this is bound to happen because it's very difficult. If you talk about BJP, you got a hard line, it's like a whip down the line that you have to obey. You don't have something in Aam Aadmi Party where
That's
everybody has equal freedom to point out his views or express his views. And this is probably going to be a problem, how they're going to control this kind of dissent, as you say, where the nation faces and with the party.
They will have to come out with proper processes, they will have to come out with proper structures within the party.
Yes,
but the only problem will be then that they will lose their USP.
Exactly.
They will not be the Aam Aadmi Party. They will be just like any other party. That's the whole point.
In the long run, I mean, you need to have iron fist to control the entire. As the organization gets bigger, it becomes very, very difficult to control it.
So you have to have structures to control the
organization. Yes, you will have to have. You will have to. And then it'll go back to the same old parties.
Since we really have run out of time, congratulations once again to Priya Pillai and to the rest of the people who have been campaigning actively for the Adivasis of Mahan. And great, absolutely wonderful for all of us to read that order of the Delhi High Court which says dissent is the bedrock of democracy. That has been ratified again, and a great day for free speech.
And I think this is after a long time we have some landmark judgment coming up which takes on the state and says, yes, we are going to protect the rights of a common man.
Protect the rights of an individual.
Of a right of an individual.
To free speech.
Yes.
और जहां तक के स्टेट का सवाल है, राज्य का सवाल है, प्रशासन का सवाल है, राजनीतिज्ञों का सवाल है, आप भले भरसक कोशिश कर लें, आज भी जहां तक के न्यायपालिका का प्रश्न है हिंदुस्तान की, वो न्यायपालिका आज भी एक इंडिविजुअल के लिए खड़ी है और उसके लिए जितनी हम न्यायपालिका की तारीफ करें वही कम है. Right, Pradeep? Pradeep and I, of course, will be back tomorrow. We've really run out of time. I think we've overshot time, in fact. So that's it. That's all we've got on a landmark day for India, on a landmark day for free speech, on a landmark day for dissent and democracy and individual freedom. I am really and truly happy, and so should you be. Right? That's it. That's all we've got for you in tonight's Inside Story. बहुत खुशी का दिन है आज और मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ आप सब लोग भी बहुत खुश होंगे जितने हम लोग खुश हैं. That's it. That's all we've got for you in tonight's Inside Story. हम मिलेंगे आपसे कल यहीं पर इसी जगह पर इसी शो में on another edition of Inside Story. तब तक आप देखते रहें Lemon News.
Global Advertising.